Amara closed her eyes and thought about the village. Then she stood up. For a long moment, Amara did nothing. She simply listened to the quiet of the forest. No one was laughing at her. No whispers. No children shouting, "Earthquake, earthquake," and running after her. No one was mocking her. She felt peace. She slowly picked up a fruit and ate it. Sweet juice ran down her fingers. Then she sat down and began to think. She remembered the market women laughing. She remembered the children running behind her. She remembered the night she sat alone outside her hut, asking the sky why she was different. A small voice in her head whispered, "Stay here." But another voice spoke louder, "Save the children." She remembered the hungry children in the village. She remembered their thin faces and tired eyes. Amara stood up. "Let me carry some food back first," she said to herself. "Then I will decide what to do next." She gathered as many fruits as she could carry and tied them inside baskets. The journey back to the village was harder because of the heavy load, but Amara kept walking. When the village finally appeared in the distance, something strange happened. People started running towards her. "Amara is back. Amara has food." In minutes, the whole village surrounded her. The children rushed forward happily. But just as everyone began celebrating, the old woman who first suggested Amara looked closely at the food. Then she turned to Amara. "Tell us the truth," the old woman said. "Is this all the food in the forest?" The entire village waited for Amara to speak. Amara looked at the faces around her. The same women who once laughed at her now avoided her eyes. The same children who used to run behind her were now standing quietly, holding the fruits she brought as if they were treasures. Amara took a slow breath. "No," she said. "There is much more food in the forest," Amara continued. "More fruits, more yams, even clean water." The children looked at the fruits with wide eyes. The women looked ashamed. Even the men lowered their heads. The village chief stepped forward slowly. "Amara," he said quietly, "you have saved us." Nobody laughed. Nobody whispered. The village looked at her with respect. Then suddenly the villagers began shouting with joy. "We are saved! We are saved! Tomorrow we will all go there. We will carry baskets, we will carry sacks." But Amara raised her hand. "Wait! You cannot all go," she said calmly. The villagers looked confused. "Why?" one man asked. Amara looked around the village slowly. "For years, many of you laughed at me because of my body. You said I ate too much. You said I was lazy. You said I was the strangest person in this village. But today, the same body you mocked is the reason food has returned to this village." The chief nodded slowly. "You are right," he said. "We were wrong." The old woman stepped forward. "What do you want, Amara?" Amara looked towards the direction of the forest. Then she looked back at them. If the village wants to eat from that forest, things must change. From today, nobody will be mocked for their body again. No child in this village will grow up feeling like they do not belong. The villagers nodded quickly. "Yes, yes, we promise." But Amara continued. "And one more thing. I will be the one to lead the journey to the forest because I know the way." The chief smiled. "That is fair." So the next morning, the villagers gathered with baskets, ropes, and sacks. Hope filled the air as they followed Amara beyond the black hills. The journey was long, but finally, Amara raised her hand. "We are here," she said. But something strange had happened. The forest was gone. The place where tall fruit trees had stood the day before was now empty land, dry soil, no fruits, no yam, no stream, nothing. Confusion spread through the crowd. "This cannot be the place," one man said. Another woman shook her head. "Maybe Amara came to the wrong place." But Amara's face had turned pale. "This is the place," she whispered. The old woman walked slowly forward and touched the ground. The soil was dry and cracked. Then something strange happened. A soft wind passed through the empty land, and for a brief moment everyone heard it. The sound of rustling leaves, the sound of water flowing, the sound of a forest that was not there. The villagers looked around in fear. "Did you hear that?" someone whispered. But when they looked again, the land was still empty. The old woman stood up slowly. "This forest," she said quietly, "was never meant for wicked hearts." The villagers stared at her. She looked at Amara and nodded gently. This forest appeared for the one person who carried strength and kindness in her heart. The wind blew again, and just for a second, Amara saw it. Tall trees, heavy fruits, the shining stream, then it disappeared. Amara closed her eyes. When she opened them, the land was empty again. The villagers slowly began to understand something. The forest had chosen who could see it, and it had chosen Amara. For a long moment, nobody spoke. The villagers stood there in the dry land, looking around as if the trees might suddenly appear again. But nothing happened. Then one of the men said impatiently, "Amara, stop playing games. Show us where the food is." Another woman added, "Yes, you brought fruits yesterday. You brought a lot of food. So where did you get them?" The crowd slowly began to murmur. Amara looked at their faces. Some looked desperate, some looked ashamed, but a few still looked proud, still looking at her the way they always had, like she was less than them. The old woman noticed it too. She sighed. Then she said something quietly. "Maybe the forest is waiting." "Waiting for what?" the chief asked. The old woman looked around the crowd. "Waiting to see if your hearts have truly changed." Her words fell heavily on the villagers. For the first time, many of them began to speak. One woman stepped forward and faced Amara. "I am sorry," she said softly. "I laughed at you many times." Another man spoke. "My children used to mock you. I never stopped them. Please forgive me." Even some of the children looked down in shame. One small boy slowly walked up to Amara. "I am sorry for shouting earthquake when you walk," he said quietly. A few people in the crowd began to laugh softly at the memory. But this time the laughter was different. It was gentle, not cruel. The old woman then turned to Amara. "Child," she said, "look again." Amara slowly turned towards the empty land. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the wind blew again, and suddenly a small green leaf appeared from the dry soil. The villagers gasped, then another and another. Within seconds, vines began to grow across the ground. Branches rose from the earth like they had been sleeping under the soil. Before their eyes, the forest began to return. Trees stretched towards the sky. Heavy fruits appeared on their branches. The clear stream began to flow again. The villagers fell to their knees in shock. The old woman smiled. "The forest was never gone," she said. "It was waiting." The chief turned to Amara with tears in his eyes. "You did not just save our village," he said. "You saved our hearts." From that day on, something changed in the village. No one mocked Amara again. In fact, people often asked her to sit at the center during festivals. Children followed her around the market, not to laugh, but to help carry her baskets. And whenever people walked beyond the black hills to gather food from the mysterious forest, they always waited for one person to lead the way. Amara, the girl they once mocked, the girl who turned out to be the one the forest had chosen. But some people in the village still whispered about something strange, because sometimes when Amara walked into the forest alone, the trees seemed to bend towards her, almost like they were greeting their true friend.